Welcome to Computational Combat. We're looking at mixed martial arts through the eyes of a betting algorithm. I'm Dylan Grayson, joined once again by the brains of the operation, Johnny Koppelman, and much like Shane Burgos, it takes him just 5 seconds to finish. It's Connor Potter. How are we doing?
Holy shit, is that a good day or what for me?
I know, right?
It's at least one.
I don't know. All right.
Oh, we were roommates.
Yeah, those walls were thin.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got a lot to break down, and hopefully we can do it somewhat quickly because it is a late night. But, Johnny, how did we do last week?
Funny you ask. We had a great week. Just based off of actual fights, we went 6 for 9. So 6 out of the 9 fights we bet on, we were correct. We pulled in 30% profit with standout performances from Charles Oliveira.
Yep.
Great. Standout performance because we won his money, but also great performance. And then another one from Edson Barboza. That was another standout performance where we got value.
All right.
I would just like to say, I think with Chucky Alves, I really thought when I saw him first kind of wilting at the end of the first round, I really thought that oh shit, him struggling with adversity is about to come right back and this fight's going to be fucking over. Him coming out in the second round and finishing it there was honestly
yeah.
I literally have nothing to say except holy shit, that was amazing. He really proved that he is over those issues.
I'm really glad that he shut me up because I had those concerns as well. And the second he came out aggressively, and by the time I was starting to go, oh, he's still in this, it was already over. He had won. So yeah. All right. But this week we are looking at the fight night. Rob Font versus Cody Garbrandt back in the Apex. I know, Connor, you're a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of it as well. Getting to hear everything. Kind of happy that we didn't get to hear all of Jacare's arm break last week, though, because yikes. Starting off at the bottom of the card, we have Rafael Alves versus Damir Ismagulov. Both of these guys are newcomers to the UFC. I don't know too much about them, but it's really hard to bet against a guy who is 22-1 coming into the UFC when his opponent also is coming into the UFC. It's not like one has been fighting particularly high-level experience when the other hasn't. Both these guys are on a similar playing field, and looking at those two records, I'm just going to make the quick pick there.
Yeah, Ismagulov is super fucking legit. Sorry, I was trying to think of the exact words that I want to say. He's extremely legit. He has a lot of experience coming into this, and even if you look at his most recent win in the UFC over Thiago Moises, I'm pretty sure Moises is now ranked number 15 in the lightweight division, and he's got wins over Michael Johnson, Bobby Green, and Alexander Hernandez. That's a legit opponent, and for Ismagulov to be beating him in his third UFC fight, that's super legit. Ismagulov all the way. And now we get to talk about the shittier of the two guys named Damir on this card.
I mixed up my two Damirs because Ismagulov is not a debut. I saw the record. And I was like, oh, great, but he's debuting. No, that just makes me even more confident that he's the one with the win over Thiago Moises. And Johnny, nothing, because we do have one debut on this, right? Or did I just get that way wrong?
I have nothing on that one.
Okay, good. So I was half right. Moving on to the next bout here. And guess what? It's another Damir. Damir Hadzovic versus Yancy Meideros. Looking at this fight briefly, I was thinking to myself, oh, Yancy Meideros, he's on a little skid, but holy shit, he hasn't won since 2017. That blows my mind. So he's on a big skid. I'm not particularly impressed by Damir Hadzovic. Hadzovic, probably. Regardless, it pains me to say it, but I am going to go with Hadzovic. I don't know. Meideros' loss to Cowboy was, back when Cowboy was good or at least decent. But I don't know that I have faith in Yancy Meideros to come back now.
So first off, I just want to make mention of the fact that Damir Hadzovic is the dude who he fought Renato Moicano. Moicano submitted him, and then while they were waiting for Bruce Buffer to announce it, Moicano was like, I wish we could have fought for longer. I was really looking forward to that fight. And Damir was just like, you could have just not submitted me. What are you doing?
Oh, great. So he wasn't a debut either? Who was I thinking of?
have no fucking
I
clue.
usually have notes written down, and it's been a very busy week studying, so I don't have physical written notes, and it appears to have screwed me.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna take Yancey in this one. Honestly, like he's on a pretty gross skid. But he's the taller dude. He's the longer dude. He fights kind of janky and long. One of those 3 losses in his skid. So yes, he hasn't won since 2017, but he also hasn't been fighting very much since 2017. One of those losses to Gregor Gillespie, there was zero shame in that. He actually made a pretty good account of himself. Losing to Lando's one of those dudes that can just be a really tough style matchup, and then Cowboy, whatever. I'm going to take Meideros. He's shown himself to be at some kind of level of an unranked lightweight that I don't think Hadzovic has shown himself to be. Jesus Christ.
The loss to Lando Venata was an interesting one for me because I was thinking, I don't know how to frame that because Lando hadn't impressed me much until he dropped in weight, and this past weekend he really impressed me. So I really don't know how to rate that on Meideros.
It was a pretty decent fight from Venata.
All right, fair enough. Johnny, what do we got?
So the algo agrees with you, Dylan, but it has it as a 50.2% chance. So it didn't actually find any value on this play, so it's not tossing on anyone. Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, last week, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a fight that was 50.01%. There was something ridiculous. It was definitely the tightest.
I think I definitely saw it was like 50.04, like something crazy like that. I know you're talking about.
Yeah.
Closest one ever. That was a record.
All right, now this one I know is going to take a lot of time for us to break down because we've all got a lot to say here. Josh Culibao versus Yilan. I know nothing about either of these fighters. I'm not even going to try and pretend to be like, oh, I do podcast. I know lots about sport. I don't know these guys. Do you have anything to say, Connor?
Yeah, I do. Yilan Shah or Shah Yilan, I don't know what he's going to be going by, has lost to Zhu Rong, and we all got to see how mediocre he looked in the UFC. If Zhu Rong is the guy who is one of the three Chinese.
That is the same guy.
No, I'm trying to remember. There were 3 or 4 people who all debuted on that card. I can't remember how good Zhu Rong looked or Rong Zhu looked, whatever it is. He also has a win over Alexei Oleinik. Apparently. Wait, are there multiple Alexei Oleinik? There are multiple Alexei Oleinik's with double-digit fights.
You're way off in the weight because this is a featherweight fight.
Well, he might have been extremely skinny.
Go to that page, dude. There's a different dude named Alexei Oleinik.
That's hilarious.
Who also has over 50 fights.
That's nuts.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
How do you spell it? I want to actually. That's interesting. I want to check to see if I
just go to Yilan Shah's Tapology page and just go through his. It's a win from 2020 over a dude who's 29 and 21.
Right, but it wouldn't have ever mattered to you, Johnny, because he never made it to the UFC, so it's not going to be.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna take Culibao. I got nothing for it.
Sure.
I'm gonna do a draw with Charles Jourdain. Charles Jourdain is pretty good.
And I assume we've got nothing here, Johnny, right?
Nope.
All right, then we move on to the next one. We've got Silva. We got Bruno Silva versus Victor Rodriguez. Another one here where I really don't have all that much to say. As far as their records go, 11-5-2 versus 7-3. I feel like it's a decent matchup. I forget, is this fight at flyweight or is it a bantamweight? Because one of them fights at bantamweight regularly.
This fight is at flyweight. Flyweight, right?
Yeah.
Something flying around my room.
Is it a cat?
No, my cat's outside right now. Not outside. Inside the house, outside my room. Don't let your cats outside. It's bad.
Yeah. Did you already say what you wanted to say about this fight?
Pretty much. Not
okay. I think Bruno Silva is a super exciting fighter. I mean, all right, bye, Dylan. He fouled an absolute shit ton, if I remember correctly, in the JP Base fight. But at the same time, I also think Victor Rodriguez is super fucking good. Like his fight with Adrian Yanez, and Yanez is a super good prospect. That fight was a fucking banger, so I'm going to take Rodriguez.
Well, let me tell you, I would hope you're right, because whereas the algorithm has Silva as a 67% favorite, the books has Rodriguez as a really, really big underdog. So we caught a lot of value there. This is our first play of the night. If you have a fund set aside, you're going to put 0.25% on Victor Rodriguez, but that's no fun. I've switched my viewpoint. I like throwing it all in one night now because I'm a gambler now. So if you're throwing it all, you're going to be putting 4.26% on Victor Rodriguez.
How many weeks did you go of saying that the way that you did it by betting over long periods of time was the correct way to do it, only to completely switch your view now?
Oh, no, it's the correct way to do it.
It's just less fun?
Yes.
Because he's not actually switched anything, because he's still betting week over week with the fun.
Right. I still bet the boring way.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I like the other way better. It's more fun.
Oh, man. Moving on to this next one. Court McGee versus Claudio Silva. And we have a bit of a dad fight here. But if we're going to talk about my dad can beat up your dad, Claudio Silva can definitely beat up Court McGee. Like, Court McGee is washed up. He's past his prime. And Claudio Silva is coming off of a loss to James Krause, which, like, you know, it's not great, but it's certainly not terrible. And I have a feeling that Silva should be able to beat up and submit Court McGee without much issue in 2021.
This is actually crazy. Claudio Silva is coming back on a super short notice fight for his normal style. Normally he likes to fight once every year, more or less, but he's taken it from October until May. October of last year, that is. I'm mostly just being a shit just because he fights super infrequently, despite being super good. I'm going to take Claudio Silva. He lost to James Krause, but he didn't really show anything to suggest that he's on the same tier as like a Court McGee, who is 1-6 in his last, or 1-5 in his last 6. The win being over Alex Garcia is not that impressive.
Yeah, what do we got, Johnny?
Yeah, so listen, Court McGee, I ain't liking it. I'm going Claudio Silva as well, and so is the algorithm. 53.23% chance to win, and the books have it extremely even. And we were able to catch value on Silva. So if you're doing it the boring way that my boring self does it, 0.13% of your fund. But if you're really going to be, a rock star and kind of just balls to the wall, 2.13% of your throw.
Johnny disappears for one episode and he comes back.
Listen, I'm pro gambler. I'm too sick of everyone saying you're really only throwing that much. So you know what? I'll promote the other one. But this is not advice. This is just me talking.
Actually, Johnny's evil twin.
Yeah.
The only thing worse than that idea is probably this fucking fight. Heavyweight bout between Ben Rothwell and Beast Boy Chris.
Beast.
Somebody fucked up on the UFC website and he's currently ranked number 265, which I think is hilarious.
It's probably accurate.
It's probably not accurate. He's probably way, way, way lower than that, because if you look at his record, he is 21-6, maybe 22-6 now. And a quick look on Tapology showed me that his last win was over a guy who was 0-0.
That's pretty sick.
At 20-6, this guy fought someone with no.
Hey, but he knocked him out in 58 seconds. Pretty impressive. Could be the next Anderson Silva.
Go. I hate you so much. Just go down this guy's record and you'll see that he continually loses to guys who are like 14-8, which is like not great, not terrible, but like if he's facing dudes with like actually good records, he loses. And if he's facing dudes that like, I don't know, have losing records or have like only a few fights or like, I don't know, no fights, then he wins. And, because of that, it's heavyweight, so he's going to win by knockout.
So first off, I think you're doing a major disservice to Beast Boy Chris Barnett by not showing his Tapology picture, because it's fucking hilarious. But also, I'll have you know that it's super disrespectful to say he's ranked lower than 265, considering that Tapology has him as the number 1 ranked South Korean pro heavyweight. So like, check yourself. Super disrespectful to my Beast Boy.
Yeah, no slander on Beast Boy accepted on the podcast.
This is now a Beast Boy podcast.
Correct.
Stop coming up with clever nicknames for me for every episode. Like, just call me Beast Boy. That's what I want to be. I wish I was like that. I'm gonna take Ben Rothwell though because he's actually okay for a heavyweight.
And nothing from Johnny. But you know what, Connor? You have convinced me. Let's run this back from the top. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Computational Combat. We're looking at Beast Boy through the eyes of a betting algorithm. I'm Beast Boy, joined as always by Beast Boy and Beast Boy.
And the Beast Boy pick for this event is don't bet on Beast Boy ever.
Oh man. Hey. Well, from that absolute stinker of a fight to actually a pretty good one. Ricardo Hamosh versus Bill Algeo. I really do like that Bill Algeo's nickname is Senor Perfecto. I think that's great.
That's Spanish for Mr. Perfecto.
Bill Algeo beat up Spike Carlisle, and that makes me like him because Spike Carlisle is a piece of shit, and I hate Spike Carlisle. That being said, actually looking at what these two have done and their skill sets, I think that Ricardo Hamosh is probably going to win this fight. I feel like his record is better, and even though he's coming off of a loss, I don't think a loss to Lerone Murphy is really like a bad thing. Lerone Murphy is also like a really solid prospect. I'm leaning towards Hamosh.
Here's the thing. I think if you go based off of their records, what you said is correct, but Hickey Hamosh has just like he's not shown like a real development or change up in his skills. Like his wrestling seems to kind of struggle. The decisions that he makes in the cage kind of aren't the best. I really like him. I keep wanting him to be a prospect that turns around someday and like shows what he's really made of because he's still super young. He's not even 26 yet. But I don't think the skills are there in the cage. Not to mention that Bill Algeo is going to be fucking huge comparatively. He's going to have 4 inches of height. I'm sorry, 3 inches of height and 1.5 inches of reach. I'm going to take Algeo in this one. That makes me really sad.
I mean, Bill Algeo beat the brakes off an anti-Semite. So, like, feel happier about that.
Yeah.
All right, Johnny, what do we got?
So the algorithm says that. Hold on here. Am I reading this?
Are you?
No, I'm reading. Un moment.
Either the data is fucking crazy, or he's trying to work out pronouncing one of these names.
No. It has Ricardo Ramos.
Hamosh. That would be if that would from a Spanish-speaking country.
No. Give him some respect. He put so much effort into rolling that R. And it was still wrong.
Yeah. But I was pausing because the little UI I built wrote the wrong guy winning. But then when I looked at the the percentages, that's how I was able to see. It's because I recently made a change to the algorithm. So in the printing, it's nothing to do with the actual.
So wait, has Hickey how much winning by what percent?
57.79%. He is an underdog on the books, so it is throwing 0.62% on him if you're doing it the boring, stupid way. And if you're doing it the Beast Boy way, you will be putting on Ramos on sorry. Hamosh. On Hamosh, you'll be putting 10.64%.
Oh, okay, that's a pretty big bet.
Well, that's a Beast Boy percentage right there.
Yeah, I'm really tempted to go on Custom Ink and make us some Beast Boy shirts. All right, moving on to what really should be the co-main event, and the fact that it's not actually.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah, this is a crazy good fight.
This is opening the main card.
This is not a curtain jerker.
I don't get it. Anyway, Jack Hermansson, number 7th ranked middleweight versus number 10 Edmund Shabzyan. This fight is really, really fucking good. However, I do feel like it's going to be pretty obvious. I feel like Hermansson is going to be able to win this one. Shabzyan, maybe I'm wrong here, but I feel like Hermansson is going to be much larger in the cage than Shabzyan. And I just don't see Shabzyan implementing any part of his game plan enough to finish Hermansson. And I feel like Hermansson is going to make it a problem if the fight gets to the ground and he's going to win by submission. I don't see Shabzyan pulling this one off, even though I think he's a great prospect, and the fact that he is younger than me makes me endlessly sad.
My age.
Yeah.
Quick addendum to what you're saying. The taller of the two fighters is Shabazyan.
When I say bigger, I mean like
Physically, okay, yeah.
muscular wise. Yeah, I
Dude,
it's going to be that reach disadvantage or
I don't fucking know what to say for this fight, man. Oh my god, like I think I'm gonna take Jack Hermansson, when he doesn't seem to necessarily deal with adversity particularly well every single time that it comes up. And I believe, if I remember correctly, he's historically struggled with southpaw fighters, which I believe Edmund is. I don't have a good reason for this other than the fact that, like, my gut says that if you put a guy who can jab with Jack Hermansson, who's comfortable just biting down and throwing hard punches, I don't know if I necessarily trust Hermansson to hold out and withstand that onslaught. So I'm going to take Shabazyan. And I'm very curious to know what the algorithm says.
Well, the algorithm. All right, before I say the algorithm and before verdict, I want to say what I think. I think that Shabazyan's going to win only because I just think that after, like, I know the MMA math, you can do blah, blah, blah. And it's like Hermansson lost to Vettori and then Shabazyan lost to Brunson. It's like you could say, oh, who in your head is the better of the two. But without doing that, I just think Shabazyan's going to be trouble. He is a southpaw, I also believe. And I just think that he's so young and he still has a lot to learn. So even if he doesn't win this fight, I think he's a future prospect. But I just think he's technically better, skill-wise better than Hermansson. And then, yeah, what does verdict say?
All right. Also, I looked, and Edmund's Orthodox, actually, so I was wrong about that.
He is?
Yeah.
So the most common pick in the world, I don't get why, is Hermansson by decision. That doesn't seem, I don't know. The second most common pick in the world is Hermansson by submission in the second, then Shabazyan by decision, and then it's scattered from there. Makes sense to me. I just think submission should probably be a little bit higher than decision.
So the algorithm has Hermansson as a 63% favorite, and it's putting 0.25% of the fund if you're doing it the way I do it. And if you're doing it the Beast Boy way, it's 4.26% of your throw. From now on, I'm calling it the Beast Boy.
Yeah, I remember you were discussing that, like, you wanted a way to, like, smoothly word what you meant when you were talking about having a betting fund week over week versus just throwing it all with, like, a YOLO. And to be honest, it works.
I'm calling it the Weak Boy and the Beast Boy.
You may want to give at least some sort of clarification at the start of podcast from here on out. But
Low and slow and Beast Boy.
Moving on to this next one, we are at flyweight for a bout between the number 11th ranked David Dvorak versus number 12 Raulian Paiva. So I'm not too familiar with Dvorak. He only has 2 UFC fights, but in total, he's on a 14-fight win streak. That's very impressive. Paiva has losses to Bontarine and Kai Kara France. Neither of those is too embarrassing. And then before those two, you have to go all the way back to 2015 for his last loss before those two. I think Raulian Paiva is pretty good, but I think Dvorak is just a little bit better. We'll see if he can keep up with the hype as he's actually in the UFC. I mean, he's had 2 UFC wins, including one over Bruno Silva, who's fighting earlier in the card. We already discussed him. So at the end of the day, it's not the easiest one for me to predict, but Dvorak's nickname is Undertaker, so I pick him.
I'm actually going to take Raulian Paiva. I think he's beaten just better competition, both or not both. I think he's beaten better competition in the UFC. Going to a split decision with Kai Kara France, there's no shame in that. And then knocking out Mark De La Rosa and decisioning Ismagulov. I don't think Jordan Espinosa is particularly good, and Bruno Silva still, I don't know how good he really is yet, because he's only just had his coming out performance, you know? And Paiva's the known quantity for me.
Yeah, well, the verdict community, you can call them Paul Bearer because they'll be in the corner of the Undertaker. They're going with David Dvorak.
And in a smooth transition to what the algorithm says Raulian Paiva with a 51.42% chance. So this is a really close fight. No. If you're doing the weak boy, you're putting 0.62% on Paiva, and if you're doing the beast boy, it's 10.64% on Paiva.
So you cut out just for a split second there. So I just want to make sure it was properly in the recording. So can you just give the numbers again for each of those?
Paiva 60 or shoot me in the leg. I'm wrong. Paiva 51.42% chance on the algorithm, on the model. The betting algorithm, weak boy, you're looking at 0.62% on Paiva. Beast boy, you're looking at 10.64% on Paiva.
All right. Good to hear it. And Connor, I will have you know, despite your eye rolls, that there was probably, I don't know, one or two of our listeners who liked my professional wrestling based joke.
No way 100% of them like it.
Also, the fact that I pronounced that right should give you guys more belief in me, as I'm going to develop into a real human.
I mean, you only had like both of us saying the name multiple times to listen
And
to.
that's always the case. And I still always get it wrong.
That's fair. All right. Woman's
What are we gonna make fun of Johnny for once he starts pronouncing everything correctly?
That's never gonna happen.
Come on
But
now.
speaking of making fun of things, women's featherweight. Felicia Spencer versus Norma Dumont. Felicia Spencer is kind of good. Norma Dumont is not good at all. Done. Felicia Spencer, and it's probably going to be a grindy decision.
My pick is going to be even less developed than that. Norma Dumont is definitely not good. Felicia Spencer is tough and has some whatever. Felicia Spencer.
Yeah, I mean, I think if Cyborg and Nunes weren't the two women that have held the belt recently, like, I think Felicia Spencer would kind of be seen as like a good fighter. I think it's one of those things where like everyone else, or not everyone else, the two people that have held the belt in her time in the UFC have been great. And there's like three other fighters in the division and they all suck.
I think the big thing for me is that Felicia Spencer's team is clearly not that concerned about her well-being, because she was getting the absolute shit beaten out of her by Amanda Nunes. And in going into the fourth and fifth round, they were just like, yeah, like you can still do, I don't remember what exactly, they were telling her to throw some specific type of strike. It was just like, do you really think that's going to be the thing that makes the difference? Come on.
I don't know. I think her husband was in her corner, which just makes that weird too. And like, I'm going to be honest with you. Until you mentioned it, I forgot that she actually got to fight Nunes. Like that,
I mean, it was in fairness,
does not exist.
A disgusting beatdown.
Yeah, this division doesn't exist. But you know, Felicia Spencer's kind of good. Verdict: 53% say Spencer by decision. The second most common pick in the world is actually Dumont by decision. But then everything else is Spencer by one form of finish in one of the three rounds, peppered in there. And then about 1% of people have picked Dumont by finish via each method each round. But like, let's be real. Everyone's leaning towards Spencer here.
The algorithm is also leaning towards Spencer. It has her as a 51.26% favorite. It has this puppy close. So there's a value play. If you're going to use the weak boy, it's Norma Dumont, 0.62%. And if you're going to do the beast boy, 10.64% Dumont.
I don't know why it sees it so close. I mean, I guess like
because it's women, so it probably thinks that anything goes, kind of.
You know what I think it probably is?
Considering the stats.
If you're looking at the stats, Felicia Spencer has faced Amanda Nunes and Cyborg, so she's going to be absorbing a lot of damage in those fights. And then you've got Dumont, who's facing Ashley Evans Smith and fucking Megan Anderson. But like, I don't know. I'm not really impressed if you lose to Slender Woman. Like,
Slender Man's a different story. That man should be arrested.
Yeah,
Slender Man.
Scary. Oh man. Moving on to this is not the pay-per-view, but the previous fight night before that, and this card have a similar thing in common, where the fights are clearly out of order, and I don't know who put them in this order, because, ladies and gentlemen, your co-main event of the evening, Justin Tafa versus Jared Vanderaa.
Wait, this isn't the co-main event.
No, there's one more fight and then the main event.
Oh, there is. Okay. So, but this still should not be placed anywhere higher than Shabzyan versus Hermansson.
But Tafa has cool tattoos.
Yeah, he does, and like that's kind of it's. Oh God, why am I forgetting his name? Shoey dude.
Oh, Tai Tuivasa?
Thank you. Tai Tuivasa. Also,
Oh, you said shoe dude?
Shoey dude. Shoey.
Yeah. The Nelk boys.
Yeah, I don't know why I forgot his name. Like, whatever. Regardless,
Doesn't Mark Hunt also have those tattoos?
Probably.
probably, but I don't think they're as visible. They don't. They definitely aren't up and around his
Right,
trunk.
idiot.
Hey. Vandera's last fight is a loss to Sergey Spivak.
Yep.
That's his only fight in the UFC. So yeah, Tafa by knockout.
Mark
Duh.
Hunt does not have those tattoos. I'm an idiot.
Well, on the one hand, Vanderaa has only had one fight, and it's a loss to Sergey Spivak. I like Spivak, and I think he's a very good prospect. So I'm not going to do my boy Vanderaa. Hey, he is a good prospect. Isn't his one fucking loss to just Alistair Overeem? Oh, wait, who the fuck am I thinking of? Who's the dude that like came in and just got obliterated by Alistair Overeem and has like been doing really well since? He's the dude who like Reem like ground and pounded the shit out of him. Oh my god, you know who I'm talking about?
You're talking about Alexander Volkov?
Sergey Pavlovich.
No, okay, yeah.
Pavlovich is super legit.
Yeah, I was gonna say Sergey Spivak is not impressive.
Yeah. On the other hand, Justin Tafa sucks. So, if you're gonna tell me that one of these dudes is 4 inches taller with 6 inches more of reach, has multiple wins in the second and third round over Justin Tafa, who sucks, I'm gonna take the dude who has those wins. I'm taking Vanderaa. Not confidently. I wouldn't even really want to make a pick on this fight, but like, eh.
Well, the verdict community is leaning in the direction of Justin Tafa. Tafa by knockout in the first gets 44% of the picks. I don't know what's going on here, but there are like no picks for Vanderaa. 6%, 9% of people have him by decision. That's the highest he gets. Yeah, Tafa by knockout, the most common pick by far.
So the algorithm has Tafa as a 55.84 percent favorite. I'm yawning because this is a small play, and honestly, it's not even worth my time. If you're a weak boy, it's 0.25%. I laugh at that on Jared. And if you're using a Beast Boy, is this even a Beast Boy play? It's 4.26%. Get the hell out of my house.
Yeah, so small bet for big boys for bad fight.
Speaking of
Two next fights are big plays, though, so it's exciting.
All right, and you know what? They're actually decent. So we're down at women's strawweight here. Number 3 ranked Xiaonan, whose nickname is 9 because apparently we need a tongue twister, versus number 4 Carlos Esparza. I kind of went back and forth on this one. This is one of the ones where like I genuinely actually thought about it, despite the fact that I've been very busy this week. The other ones, like most of the other fights, I kind of just quickly glanced over. This one, it's really tough for me to make that pick here. So Jan's win over Claudia Gadelha, maybe that's kind of not aging the best, or rather, I think Gadelha was kind of on a little bit of a decline heading into that fight. Yeah, her last fight was the Jan fight. She had a win over Angela Hill and Randa Marcos, but she had a few losses interspersed there that.
And also, if I remember correctly, the Angela Hill fight's considered to be a pretty nasty robbery.
Yeah, I think there were 2. Wasn't there?
One sec, I'm on it.
What else I'm thinking of, but I remember thinking that Gadelha was no longer this like top tier fighter.
Yeah, she hasn't been for a while.
Yeah, I think Jan is very good, but I feel like Carla Esparza is still better. I mean, Esparza's last loss was in 2018 to Tatiana Suarez, which, you know, I think that there wouldn't be much shame in that. We just haven't seen Suarez really at all since, due to the neck injury. I think she had 1 or 2 more fights after that and then disappeared. But I mean, ever since 1, 2, 3, 4 straight wins over Marina Rodriguez and Michelle Waterson, and that's very impressive because they were able to main event a card. They're very good. Look, at the end of the day, I think Carlos Esparza is pretty good, and I don't know how a fighter that is trained entirely in China is going to deal with wrestling that well. Not to say that they can't, obviously they can, but when you're training full-time in China, there's not going to be a lot of like freestyle or folk style wrestlers there to work with. And everything coming together, I'm leaning towards the Cookie Monster.
Yeah, in full credit to Carla Esparza, as much as she gets shat on by the fact that Joanna just destroyed her, she's like actually a pretty decent fighter. Like her takedowns are genuinely very good. Most of the fights that she loses are because she can't take down the bigger opponent. When she gets her opponent down, she typically wins. Like a lot of respect to her for that. She's super underrated by the fans. That being said, my gut is telling me to pick Yan Xiaonan, but my head says to pick Carla here. Similarly, like you, I'm kind of been going back and forth. Weirdly enough, they have the same reach despite a 4-inch height disadvantage for Esparza. Xiaonan is a super active striker, but at the same time, like the people that she's been stuffing takedowns from and then shooting in on are people who aren't the same quality of wrestler as Carla Esparza. Like the best wrestler, I mean, Claudia is an okay wrestler in the first round, but the version that she fought was the Mark Henry version, which is not the aggressive wrestler that gasses after a round. It's the tepid striker who gasses after 2. So I'm going to take Esparza here.
All right. Verdict is with us here. Oh, wait, actually, never mind. Verdict is the other way around. It has Yan Xiaonan at 49% by decision. The second most common pick in the world, 31% Esparza by decision, and then not much on the finishes there.
So the algorithm on its most positive play of the night, meaning it is the most sure about this call. Can you guys guess who it's on?
I'm going to guess because you're smiling that it's Esparza, because if it was Xiaonan, you would be sweating.
No, I'm smiling because it's Yan. But so it has her as a 75% favorite.
Wow.
Yeah, and also the books have her as a favorite too. We just happen to have her as more of a favorite. If you're playing Weak Boy, it's 1.88% of your fund. If you're playing Beast Boy in true Beast fashion, this is 31.91% of your total throw.
Wow, that is ballsy, especially because I felt confident the other way around. Oh, man. All right, moving on to our main event. And this is a really interesting fight. It's the most interesting fight of the night. But I feel like I'm going to be done talking about it in just a few seconds. Main event, bantamweight, number 3 ranked Rob Font versus number 4 ranked Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt came back with his win over Rafael Assunção, and I thought that the UFC was very nice to Cody in giving him a fighter who could not fucking knock him out if he tried. So Cody did look a little bit more patient there, but that's because he didn't get rocked and then see red, bro. Look, if Cody Garbrandt has actually like gotten himself to a place where he is genuinely going to be a more patient striker, he's got a very good shot here. I think a patient Cody Garbrandt is genuinely world championship material. However, an impatient Cody Garbrandt is going to get his head blown off because Rob Font can punch and punch hard. And I feel like we are going to see Cody Garbrandt come out looking patient and clean until he gets clipped, and then it will be the same thing all over again, and Rob Font will be your winner. Yeah, I mean, I'm really interested here because I think the winner of this could get the next title shot after the Jan versus Sterling rematch.
I actually think they're second in line for the title shot because it's going to be the winner of Dillashaw Sandhagen.
Oh, that's what I was about to say, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless if Algeo wins the rematch and then Sandhagen wins that fight, they might hold off there.
Him winning the rematch would have required him to have won the first fight.
And that's not how it. Like I understand that he was losing. That's not.
But
how
yeah, wait. But isn't he getting like? Didn't he get like spine surgery? Like how long?
He's getting neck surgery. He's going to be out until October.
He got it already, and he's supposed to be ready by the fall. And Peter Yan has a kid due in July. So.
Oh, okay. So the timing works out.
Peter Yan hasn't talked about it at all because it's ruining his narrative of Algeo ducking him. But they're both going to be good to go in the fall. It seems.
Algeo definitely is low key, high key ducking him though.
Yeah, I feel like if he really wanted to fight, Yan wants that belt back. Piotr would fucking get in that ring.
Yeah,
I feel
Or
like
it's
octagon,
also I don't know.
octagon.
You don't. It's one of those things where like some people are like, oh, he's fucking trolling. He's just talking about wanting to fight everybody else in the division to rile Jan up. But it's kind of clear that he just does not want to fight Jan. He did not look confident by the end of that fight.
I think he just
Yeah.
I think he genuinely understands that it's going to be very tough for him to keep the belt in the circumstances at which he got it, where, obviously not his fault the way it went down, but like fucky. And I think he's just going, I gotta make money. Like, because
No, I don't blame him for doing that, but it is kind of a sad look.
right.
He's kind of, but to be fair, he's gonna make a lot of money in this fight because there's so much hype on it now because everyone's like, oh, blah, 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 you know what I mean? We're all talking about it.
Yeah, I look forward to Jan fucking beating Sterling's ass. And speaking of fighters who I hope get their ass beaten, Cody Garbrandt, fucking hate him. I actually kind of want to pick him though. Like, I don't know if it's like the reverse sadness hedge. Like, I don't like Cody, and therefore I assume that he's gonna win, so I can celebrate really hard but not be disappointed if he does. Here's the thing. So I don't put much stock in him looking more patient against a 37, 38-year-old Assunção who's on like very much the tail end of his career. The thing that he did do differently that I thought was nice is he was very aggressive with the kicks that he was throwing. He was fucking blasting out those leg kicks, and they did a lot of work. Font's a really good boxer, and he can fucking crack. He has a disgustingly nice jab, and he's going to have a 6-inch reach advantage in this fight because Cody has fucking T-Rex arms. He's a bitch. That being said, on the one hand, Font can just jab his face off and then crack him really fucking hard with some disgusting counters, which wouldn't surprise me at all. But on the other hand, like, I don't think that Font has like great wins in the UFC. Like, if you look at his record, his 3-fight win streak, which put him at number 3 in the bantamweight division, is Sergio Pettis, which, okay, fine, solid win, it's a good win. Ricky Simon, which is fine. And then Marlon Moraes, who has shown himself to like not really be with the program anymore on a 2-fight skid, both by knockout. I mean, so it wouldn't surprise me if he just jabs Cody's face off, but at the same time, in my mind's eye, I see Cody just fucking taking him out of that boxing stance consistently with the leg kicks, and then just hurting him real fucking bad. Assunção was able to counter him and hurt him in their fight. I could see Cody doing the same. The one difference being that maybe Font has such a significant reach advantage that there is no safe kicking range. So I'm going to take Cody, sadly.
Verdict has Cody by knockout in the second as the most common pick, but it does bounce around a lot, calling both of them by knockout. I don't think a single verdict user has called this either way by submission, and I don't blame them. Johnny, what do we got?
We got one of Johnny's top 5 favorite fighters fighting in Cody Garbrandt. Dude, I mean, this is, I just want to say how crazy this is, like, whether you hate him or you love him. And yeah, it's only been one, and like, it only really took, he got lucky, he got one good fight, but you got to look at it this way. It's very rare that a fighter loses the belt and then loses another fight. I mean, you call it 2 fights because you got the immediate rematch, but it's very rare that a fighter falls like decently low down and then makes it back up. So if he wins this fight and then gets a title fight and wins the title, you gotta respect him. But those are 2 big ifs because there's a lot of, people in front of him, and especially Rob Font. I'm worried about Cody's jaw in the sense that he does lead with his jaw sometimes. Like when he's like swinging to knock someone out, he's pretty impatient. I wish he would go back to his Cruz. Like in the Dominic Cruz fight, there was like a patience about him. Like when he had Cruz really hurt, he didn't put on the aggression enough, in my opinion. He could have finished that fight. But we need a balance between that and his most recent fights because I really like that Cody. He wasn't sticking his jaw out and going like this. He was slipping and really elusive in the octagon. I want to see a version of that Cody against Rob Font.
I mean, in fairness, I think the only reason why Cody looked so good against Dominic Cruz is because Team Alpha Male has fought Cruz, I think, 7 or 8 times.
Right.
Cody was just the dude who happened to both have, legitimately, he did have the skills, but also they finally just figured out a game plan.
But couldn't you say that he should have performed better against Dillashaw in the second rematch, considering they like have so much notes on Dillashaw?
I think he was doing fine until he got cracked. Like as soon as he gets hurt, he just goes panic, swing, and that's it.
Yeah.
He got hit though in the Cruz fight. Like this is what I'm talking about though.
Cruz
If
has
you
no
rewatch,
power.
so very.
This is one knockout in the UFC, and it was.
I would like to see a more composed Cody. Composed Cody Garbrandt's extremely dangerous.
But I also don't think that's a real fighter. I'm sorry. It's like sea-level Kane. Like the fighter that people mythologize is a fighter that does not exist, because they've shown that is not what makes them who they are. It would be like I'm trying to think of another example, but like Ronda Rousey with patient striking or something. It's something that they've shown they don't have access to. Cody's not a patient fighter.
In the Asuncao fight, he looks patient.
But Asuncao is also the type of matchup that's going to allow him to look incredibly patient, because a 37, 38-year-old Asuncao is just not a threat. He's just not.
The one thing I'll say about Garbrandt, because, I want to speculate a little bit, even assuming he wins this fight, the guys ahead of him are terrible matchups for him. Terrible matchups for him, especially Sandhagen. Like, that's a terrible matchup for him.
I would love to see
if that fight ever happens, given that whoever wins, Sandhagen gets the fight, he wins, Cody gets the next one. It's a terrible fight, but looking at this fight, I really think Garbrandt could pull this off. We could keep speculating after, but I will say the algorithm does have
one other note.
Yeah.
I think a big part of this fight is really going to depend on who's doing the coming forward.
Right.
Because Cody looked amazing against Cruz because he was forcing Cruz to be the one leading. He was forcing Cruz to come after him, and he was allowing him to counterpunch. Cody has a good jab, but he does not ever use it. So I think a Cody that is forced by Rob Font to start coming in and being the one making aggressive moves is going to look terrible. If he can force Font somehow, maybe I don't know how he would do it, but if he can force Font to come in, I think that's a very winnable fight for him.
You're right. He's got these quick twitch muscles that make him really good at counterpunching.
Yeah.
You're right, because he does always look good counterpunching.
Yeah.
That's also interesting you bring that up, because if you look at the first Dillashaw fight, the combination in which he got hit was him leading, because when he leads with his hands down. So that's interesting you bring that up, because him counterpunching is like extreme. Like when he knows a punch is coming, he's very good at counterpunching and slipping it. But when he doesn't know it's coming, he's really like exposed with his chin forward. So that's interesting you brought that up.
I think it's one of those things where like he's a very athleticism driven fighter where he can rely on being insanely fast and to some extent tough, but he can rely on being faster than everybody else around him as a way of getting away with technical deficiencies. The reason why TJ beat him twice is because TJ was like, oh shit, first round's going to suck because I don't know how fast he's going to be. But the second that he got used to the speed, he was able to just start throwing counters.
Yeah.
Right.
TJ Dillashaw didn't test positive because he was one of my favorite fighters.
And I was going to say, TJ Dillashaw knew that if he could last into the later rounds, he'd have the advantage because blood like ragu.
Hey, okay, in fairness, Cody also said that he did EPO.
I know. Look, Cody's not the smartest guy either. For anyone who doesn't get my reference, EPO is a hormone that increases the amount of red blood cells circulating through your body. So it helps you carry oxygen. It helps you with your cardiovascular endurance. It's the same stuff that Lance Armstrong was on. Regardless, the point blood like ragu is a joke because he's got so many red cells. His blood is physically going to be thicker. It's disgusting.
Actually, it becomes thicker?
I don't think it would actually get to the point where it was like that, but it's a running meme that he had taken so much EPO that his blood was like tomato sauce, which is probably nowhere near reality.
Anyway, that's funny, but
tangent after tangent.
The algorithm has Rob Font as a 69% favorite. Rob Font's what? Oh, it's what?
Nothing. Don't worry about it.
What's the pronunciation?
No. You said it correctly.
we both laughed at 69 because despite being in doctoral programs, we are both still children.
Okay, Rob Font is a 69% favorite. He's also favored in the books, but we have as a larger favorite. If you're doing it the weak boy way, you're going to be doing 1.25%. But if you're a beast boy, 21.28% of your fund is going on Font.
All right. And that'll wrap it up for this week's episode of the Beast Boy Cast. We'll see you next week. Beast.
Wait.
It's your Beast Boy out.
Wait.
Okay.
Next episode, we'll be unboxing a box break of the UFC Prism debut edition box. So catch that because we're gonna unbox a black Conor McGregor Prism card, and I'm gonna sell it for $100,000 and pay off any mortgage in the future.
Do you think that they have a Beast Boy card yet?
If they have a Beast Boy rookie and we unbox it, we will be giving it away to a random person.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.